welcome to what is a very different episode. You currently find me sitting on a motorway heading south to catch a ferry. In today's episode, we're going to Morocco. Now, this trip took place back in May 2022 and was in conjunction with the Global Convoy. If you haven't already, I highly recommend checking out their YouTube channel. In the meantime, you'll find me on a motorway somewhere outside of Birmingham, travelling from the Project Peddlers headquarters to the ferry terminal in Portsmouth. After stopping on the way to visit some relatives and the obligatory scrounging of dinner off them, I met up with the rest of the convoy at a pub just outside the port. I mean, obviously, where else would you meet people when going on a road trip? Anyway, after sorting out who had to go in which car to get through passport control, having my car searched by a customs officer that coincidentally was from my hometown, we boarded the ferry. Unfortunately, you're not supposed to film in the port, so I didn't get any of this on camera, and I'm pretty gutted that I didn't get a shot of the epic entrance onto the ferry. With my car the last one to be loaded, we could finally set off for Santander. So this is our cabin. I'm sharing a couple of people, George and Lara, part of the trip. It's pretty comfy. The only, I would say, downside is that we don't have a window, so it's kind of a bit weird when you wake up and you have no idea whether it's 4 AM or 8:30. But apart from that, very comfortable, very nice ensuite. For now, I'm going to go up to the Sun Lounge and meet up with the rest of my friends. So what to do when you're stuck on a ferry for an entire day? Now, if I am brutally honest, as nice as the ship was, there wasn't a huge amount of amenities on board. If you were to do this trip with little ones, make sure to pack something to keep them entertained. There is the option of internet on board, but it has to be paid for separately, and due to bandwidth restrictions, video streaming sites are restricted. If like me, however, you are an adult with good company, here's a list of things you can do. Drink with your friends. Play the game 21, which involves more drinking. Attempt to break your phone.
Alright, it's Android, we're fine.
Do some dolphin watching.
Oh, yeah.
Before finishing the day off by watching the sunset. So we're now off for dinner, the last meal that's included, and go join my friends. Let's see what it's like. We arrived at the port in Santander, Spain, ready to disembark at 7 AM. However, before we did that, I had one important thing to take care of first: breakfast. Now, in case you're wondering, the first morning you're on board, you get a continental breakfast included with your ferry ticket, with the option of upgrading to a full English if you want to. The morning you depart, however, you have to pay for breakfast. I did the very British thing and got myself a full English with a cup of tea, and then blagged myself a continental one to go with it. Filled up on bacon, beans, tea and pastries, and having put the necessary stickers on the car, we hit the road and headed south to Malaga.
Ladies and gentlemen, here you find us on day one in Spain. We've got a 600-mile drive to do today to try and get to Malaga. So yeah, let's start eating these miles up. Number one.
With the long day ahead of us, we had to find ways to entertain ourselves. George and I kicked off by playing the tunnel game.
Easy one to start off with.
So just a heads up, the turbo thing has stopped working, so I'll be a bit slow for a while. So yeah.
Stop working.
It's lost boost again.
Slight uphill was going to kill it.
I mean, we need to let him drop back in by the truck. Yeah. We'll just radio him. I'm gonna bomb it past his truck.
We also had some vehicular issues to deal with too. And when I say we, I mean Max.
Sorry, Max.
To try and get as much speed as possible, because you will overtake me on this next hill. I'm basically riding a bicycle that happens to be powered by diesel at this stage.
Max's turbo issues became a bit of a recurring theme of the day, and in no way did we make jokes about it. Oh no, wait, that's exactly what we did.
10 hours might be optimistic.
No. 10 hours from Max is optimistic.
George and I discussed future travel plans.
Do you ever go there?
That's great. I'd like to see it, yeah. I don't suppose you guys can see what's following me at the minute, can you?
I don't know what it is, though.
It's a convoy vehicle for slow-moving vehicles.
What about it?
I thought he was going to follow us to Malaga.
Before returning to jokes about Max's car. Sorry, Max.
Ladies and gentlemen, 600 miles.
30 minutes to go.
Woo, freaking woo.
And as the miles ticked away, we finally got our first glimpse of signs for Malaga and the south coast.
I see the sea! We were literally just talking about how we'd come out of a tunnel or turn a corner and be like, bam! And there it is.
Finally, as we got into Malaga, all we had to do was stick together and get to our rest stop for the night. This was easier said than done.
We'll see you soon.
After catching up with the other two cars, we headed to where we needed to park before meeting up with the rest of the convoyers that were waiting for us. I spent the evening catching up with old friends from previous convoy trips, meeting the new people that had joined this one, and partied the evening away with a kebab and some beers. The following morning, and now with Andy's and Pedro's cars as part of the convoy, we got the roof racks mounted to Max's and then organised where everyone's luggage was to go.
So after a short drive from where we stopped last night in Malaga, we got to the port, sorted our tickets out, and now we're finally on the ferry to Morocco.
A wonderful sunset, an ideal way to end such a peaceful day.
End up splitting.
Sorry. I did not know if that guy saw me then. I was like,
Film the guy on the horse, please.
On the guy on the horse.
oh,
There
we-
was a guy
we-
on the horse on the right. We just passed it.
I think we just passed it, sadly.
I mean, I was indicated to come off, so I'm sorry, bikers, that was your fault.
Tangier, Morocco. I think it takes a solid second place in the worst traffic that I have ever driven in, and trust me, this video doesn't even do it justice. About 10 minutes later after I switched the camera off, the heavens opened and it was absolute chaos. After trying to navigate a convoy of 5 vehicles through Tangier at night, and mostly without the use of Google Maps, God, my generation is dependent on the internet, looking back at it, Malaga wasn't that bad.
Matt, you still hanging out back there?
No, that was no good.
I'm right behind you. Everybody's assembled, nobody's falling behind. We're with you.
see
I
the
can- yeah,
van, so we're good.
I can see Matt down there.
Oh, okay, great.
Can we go back to Spain where there was no traffic?
I'd just be happy that traffic that could obey the highway code, to be honest.
The chaos of Tangier traffic was only interrupted by the smut of Laura, Joelle and Michelle.
Coming off the roundabout now. Your mom's a funny roundabout. I know. I don't want to talk about it. I appreciate that the your mom jokes are spreading this convoy just like your mother's legs. I thought I recognized it.
Thanks guys for keeping the convoy classy.
Where's Pedro? Yeah. Are we going left here, yeah? Oh, Andy missed the...
You've just gone straight over the crossroads.
Okay, it was a left.
Okay, would you like us to take the next left? Yes. We see Pedro.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Right, I'll let Andy out.
We're gonna hit you just because we can.
Please don't.
Have you seen the damage on my front of my car? I have no issue with slamming into you.
Challenge accepted.
After managing to navigate our way through the chaos that was Tangier traffic and finding an alternative campsite as our original one that we had planned to stay at no longer existed, Joelle cooked us an excellent pasta dinner, we set up camp, and Michelle made herself a new friend.
Make coffee from bed. See if it'll actually work. I've not tried it before.
We said if he drops anything, we're not picking it up for him. He's got to somehow reach it.
The following morning after we'd got breakfast, packed up camp, and Joelle had given us an inspiring pep talk and plan of action for the day, we once again hit the road in search of somewhere to exchange money and SIM cards. Jeez, my generation can't survive without the internet.
So we found a what looks like to be a fairly large supermarket just on the fringe of Lara. So we're gonna head there.
So here is a great example of why overlanding is a great way to see the world. You never quite know what's going to happen. This is Ash and his wife who are from Luton, UK. They were in Morocco visiting family and Ash's wife had spent the morning trying to get him out of the house and out of the way. She finally succeeded, and as Ash walked outside, the first thing he was met with was a convoy parked up on the road outside searching for the supermarket. A conversation ensued between Joelle and Ash, and the next thing we know, we're all being invited into the house for traditional Moroccan tea and snacks. I'm not going to lie, as a British man, the concept of tea very much appealed to me. We never did get to the supermarket that day. After enjoying the tea and snacks, we grabbed a group photo, said our thanks, and then headed to our campsite for the night, but not before a little mischief.
Andy, do you copy?
Yes, coming over.
Can you go up pretty close behind me and then hit your you basically hit your horns at us?
Hit your horns?
Yeah. Yes, please.
The police, really? Why?
Oh, not at the police, no. Once we've gone past them, but we've got some passengers in the back of our car and we want to wake them up. Cheers, Andy.
Sorry, Nick. Matan, how did you sleep through that? We eventually rolled into our wild campsite for the night by the beach and were quickly presented with our first major challenge of the trip. Now, I would have liked to have shown you more about this, but unfortunately you will have to make do with this photo, as I was a little preoccupied that afternoon trying to get Matt's Volvo unstuck. In the end, it took the combined effort of Max's car, the entire convoy crew, a local family, and some fishermen.
So we've just found a wild camping spot along the Moroccan coast, and we've sent the car out to go get some food. Hopefully we're going to get some like a barbecue tonight and get some drinks around a campfire. This is what it looks like. So we've just woken up from our second campsite of the night. We found a great one further up north on the coast. We'd all set up, got dinner, had a couple of drinks, I think had a great evening. And then the police came along and kicked us off of it. They said it was due to some reason to migrants. Basically that's where they leave, and they were concerned of our safety, but when we asked if we could stay, they basically said no. They kicked us and a bunch of local fishermen off it. So we had to drive until about 1 AM and we found this place.
Once we had packed up camp, we set off for the capital, Rabat. The plan was to get some breakfast and check out the markets, but not before once again having to deal with some vehicle issues.
So the Galaxy's got a leak, unfortunately, due to part of a cooling system that preheats diesel. So between Matt and myself, I think we've managed to get the car up onto the curb, and then we're taking the system out to loop it out so that we can hopefully carry on. Wonderful roadside repairs, and we're currently in the city of Rabat.
After sorting out Max's car, we got breakfast and then hit the market to explore.
Yeah, there'll be someone up at the top of there.
There's a speaker. So we're standing in Marrakesh Market, and we're just hearing the call to prayer. So we're in Rabat, the capital of Marrakesh, and we've just got to the wall of the fort. This looks out over the sea. We have had some guides try and get some money out of us and direct us around. Don't bother with them. You can walk around here yourself and find it fairly easily. This is the view.
After exploring the market and Rabat Fort, we hit the road again, travelling south to our next campsite.
So currently south of Rabat, we found a decent campsite that we're not going to get kicked out of this evening. Spent the afternoon on the beach, looked to shower, and now watching the sunset. So see you again tomorrow. So it's currently 4 o'clock in the morning, and this is the joys of a Muslim country. As you can probably hear in the background is the first call of prayer of the day. And from my experience yesterday, this is carrying on for the next 15-20 minutes.
After waking up properly a few hours later, we organised the first group photo with the vehicles and then hit the road.
So I've taken a break from driving, and we've got Nick behind the wheel of Type R.
After a couple of hours of driving through some stunning scenery, we rolled into a small town to get lunch, and this was when we had our next vehicle problem, Pedro's Saab getting a flat. After teaching Lara how to remove a wheel, a local took myself and Mikhail from our group who could act as translator to a local tyre place to get it fixed.
So basically we're fixing the tire. We just took it out of the rig, and we're gonna fix it.
With Pedro's wheel sorted out and people fed, we once again hit the road on our way to Azud. We were treated to some wonderful roads through the Atlas Mountains, and while my Civic certainly wasn't a bad choice for tackling some mountain twisties, I did pull away from the rest of the convoy, I can't help feeling an agile two-door saloon would have been an even better choice. Only I had such a vehicle. Anyway, let's cue some tunes and enjoy what was one of my personal highlights of the trip. Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm definitely a car guy.
So we've just stopped for a break here on the lay-by before a bridge. We're in the mountains, the Atlas Mountains in Morocco, about half an hour away from the destination. This is what it looks like.
Our route to Azoud involved us crossing that slightly sketchy looking bridge, so of course I had to test that it was safe to cross, just like my dad had taught me.
I will do one more and put my hair up so I get rid of that bump.
That's it, the craziest you have. You can do better.
I might not be able to, but Kale certainly can.
Lovely. So elegant. Amazing. So light on your feet.
With our pit stop over, we hit the road, eventually rolling into the city of Azoud, and once again commenced the search for a campsite. After not finding a campsite, an elderly couple allowed us to camp in their yard. We woke up the following morning to find we had a new member in the group.
You should call him Sticky. Max, you care to explain where we are then?
We're at the Azoud waterfalls, and they're pretty beautiful. That's all I really have to say right now. I'm just kind of staring at it.
We were told by our guy who was showing us down last night, apparently they're the second tallest in Africa. I don't know whether that's true or not, but...
Surely not.
Yeah, I doubt that as well, actually.
I have since googled this, and depending on the metric that you use, some use largest single fall, others use the entire cascade, it may very well be the second largest in Africa. After hiking to the bottom of the waterfall and getting breakfast at a cafe there, we continued on a little further downstream and found a pool that we were allowed to swim in. None of my cameras are water resistant, so thanks to Luke for taking these while I went into the water.
Well, they say the Azoud waterfall is famous for its waterfall and its monkeys. Here's one of the monkeys.
After we had finished swimming in the waterfall, met the local wildlife and had gotten lunch, we once again hit the road, this time on our way to Marrakesh.
So I've got myself another drive today.
American.
What's it like driving a right-hand drive car, Michelle?
Just trying not to drift into the other lane and kill everybody.
I'd very much appreciate if you didn't kill me in my own car.
Although the curves are really fun.
Apart from having to tell us to slow down at one point as she was doing almost 80 miles per hour in a 100k zone, Michelle successfully drove us to the outskirts of Marrakesh. Yeah, sorry about that, Michelle. I am a European that drives a right-hand drive car from a Japanese manufacturer, measures fuel in gallons and speed in miles per hour. The British, we can be a bit odd at times.
Moose. I think that works. Oh, it's the wrong way. Moose, come in. If you guys, the next petrol station you see, we can just pull in real quick so I can swap with Mike. It's not a rush, just so we can swap before the chaos of Marrakesh.
Marrakesh? Well, yeah, there is a show right here. Shall we go?
Yes, that works.
She says yes, please.
Michelle?
We did that completely the wrong way into the petrol station.
Yeah, I don't know.
While I navigated us through the chaos that was Marrakesh traffic, important, groundbreaking work was taking place in the back of my car.
So I died because you come close to me.
So we've just arrived in Marrakesh and parked cars, and this is the fuel pump we found right outside. Okay, so once again I'm working on Andy's van on a convoy. I'm getting flashbacks from Moldova, although I will say it's a hell of a lot hotter here. His wipers and his washer jets have packed up, but fortunately we found it's just a fuse, so I'm hoping it's going to be a simple fix by sticking a replacement in. Watch your space.
As you can see, my first morning in Marrakesh started with me resorting to type and working on some cars. In case you were wondering, yes, I was only wearing my boxers underneath my overalls.
Yay! It works!
With Andy's van sorted, I could then move on to making some modifications to Pedro's car. Something I've learnt from previous convoy trips is that there never seems to be enough chances to charge devices, so we decided to jerry-rig some additional USB sockets into Pedro's Saab.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, charging points.
Now we have charging power in both sides of the vehicle, in the front seats and the rear seats. We can charge 4 devices at the same time, so I would say that's pretty neat.
You happy with it?
Yeah, I mean it works. It looks awful, but it works. I mean, Mike does the wiring, the design, well, that has to wait for another trip.
Glad you like it, buddy.
With all the cars in 100% working condition, Pedro and I hit the market to do a little shopping and then caught up with the others at a rooftop restaurant for some lunch. After making the purchases we wanted and being fed, we walked across town to join a walking tour that we'd booked. Things did not start well. Despite being fractionally early and people not part of the convoy also being booked onto the tour, our guide never showed up. With a small crowd of disappointed people, Pedro stepped up and, only being armed with information signs on Wikipedia, led us on a tour of the city. Our new guide told us on many occasions to take pictures, so here's a small collection. My mum and dad are big fans of elephants and steam engines respectively, so the last few images are really for them. Now, if you've ever been on a convoy trip before, or even seen some of the Global Convoy videos, you'll know all about Thrift Night. For those of you that haven't, the idea is very simple. Everyone pulls someone else from the group's name from a hat, and then you have to buy them a ridiculous outfit before going out for the night in whatever ridiculous outfit you have received. As Morocco is a little bit more of a conservative country, we decided to limit it to just a hat and then went out for dinner. Day 10 once again involved us hitting the road travelling from the city of Marrakesh to a wild campsite on the beach near the town of Tiznit.
So I have my third driver on the trip. This is Lara, who passed the test some months ago but actually hasn't driven a car since, so it's the first time she's driven in about 6 months. How's it going, Lara?
Pretty good, as you can see.
We're still rolling.
After a couple of hours we made a pit stop and changed drivers once again.
So I've got a 4th driver in Thai Park. Cal, how are you finding it?
That was good.
Any other thoughts?
No.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kale, a man of few words. Meanwhile, in the back, problems were occurring.
We have a bit of an issue.
It's the Iron Curtain
everywhere. Yeah. And instead of sand dust, it's car shit falling on us. So yeah, so we're gonna just be like this until we stop.
Boy, we are okay.
Are we there?
I know, we've got about 4 hours to go, I think.
Yep. Swap arms every 10 minutes.
So we fixed the problem and now we have a cookie holder.
Let's see how long it lasts.
So we've just pulled up here, hopefully to camp for the night. This is the Moroccan coastline, south of a place called Tiznit. Yeah, sun setting. Hopefully we'll get some decent food tonight and a few beers and watch sunset go down. If you ever wonder why you should join the Global Convoy for a trip, this is why. Great sunset, great location for camping, great mates, and a few beers. See you tomorrow.
The following morning we made a short trip down the coast, and I will leave you with Joelle to explain where we were.
Legzira, and we're here to see the giant arch on the beach, just through the mist. And we got some Bedouin tents and a nice little village, and it's a pretty cool spot. It's got a real like beach bum vibe. I really like the people around here. They're all very nonchalant, relaxed. It's a good place.
We were advised by a lifeguard not to stop under the arch, as apparently a section had already fallen off that year. After spending the morning exploring the arch and relaxing on the beach, we set off towards the town of Tantan and our overnight stop.
Sorry, there haven't been many updates. Also, it's charging cable from your camera, so I'm going to charge that up. Anyway, we are heading towards the town of Tantan, which is back on the coast for another night's camping. We just made a stop here at Supermarket, picked up some supplies, and hopefully get back on the road. It is currently 41 degrees outside, and I have to wear a shirt and trousers. It's actually colder in the car than it is outside. My original plan of bringing a mini here I think would have been suicidal, but anyway, still recommend people should come see it. It's awesome.
For anyone wondering, my comment about what I was wearing is due to Moroccan culture. While it is not against the law, unlike in some countries, a t-shirt and shorts are not commonly worn by the locals. As a foreigner in the country, and especially in the tourist areas such as Marrakesh, you are unlikely to have any issues. As we were beginning to get further away from the common tourist areas and closer towards a disputed region that is Western Sahara, I decided to dress a little more conservatively and cover up. You may have noticed that a lot of our group were wearing robes that they had purchased locally. I didn't, but had packed light coloured and loose fitting clothes. This also had the added advantage of stopping me getting sunburn, as I am kinda white. Stocked up on supplies for that night's dinner, which was going to be a barbecue, we continued on our way to Tantan along Morocco's vast network of what appeared to be unfinished motorways. So many miles ahead of us, we had to keep ourselves entertained. We started off by discussing plans for future trips.
Mike, if you had unlimited time and like finances, where would be a dream trip for you?
What, to drive?
Yeah.
I would drive all the way through the stands into China, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, and then take the car home.
Yeah.
Maybe even do like the round the world that you guys did.
Yeah.
And I'd want to do it from my building.
You want to do what, sorry?
I'd want to do it in my building.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Whoops, I almost gave away there what the next project on the channel is going to be. We followed that up with some camel spotting. Well, when I say we, Andy claims he saw some camels.
I'm in a low hatchback, I can't see over the bank. If we can't verify it, it doesn't count.
Navigated our way through yet another police checkpoint. We had encountered quite a few of these, and I have to say that they were all really friendly and professional.
That's probably checking for migrants and things like that. That's the one that overtook us.
Yeah, that's why I was laughing.
While we're all laughing at the bus getting pulled over, unfortunately illegal immigration from various African nations into the EU via Morocco is an ongoing problem. And finally we threw in a little pothole dodging just to spice things up a bit. After several hours of driving, we finally saw signs for the town of Tantan.
Tantan, 60k. So we've just stopped for a bit of an impromptu photo opportunity. These are the dunes of Morocco.
An hour or so later we rolled into Tantan and navigated our way across town to our campsite for the night. We spent the evening chilling out around the campfire and enjoying the barbecue we cooked. The following day was another long day of driving, heading towards a Bedouin camp in the disputed region called Western Sahara, which is largely administrated by Morocco. With such a long day's drive and an extremely empty road network, we had the opportunity to attempt a rather elaborate photo shoot.
Weird how the fact that
I know, right? Like,
part of me kind of wants to jump over there just to say I'm just on the wrong side.
It's like we're driving in England.
Just to clarify here, Morocco drives on the right, as do about 65% of the world's population. Despite what appeared to be a perfectly usable carriageway, we were travelling in a contraflow. If you ever drive in Morocco, keep your wits about you, as it's easy to get confused at times as which side of the road you should be on.
Alright guys, I've got an idea. Something I'd like to film. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind.
Yeah, the wheel's just going to pull out.
So my concept is, if I can get the 360 cam out, and then everybody gets like right behind us in the Civic, and then I count down from 3, 2, 1, and then everybody kind of fans out and goes like one of us takes each a lane. I think that would look pretty cool. Do we think we could do that safely without killing ourselves?
Oh, you want to go all
Yeah,
five in a line?
for the most part. Well, I guess, yeah, because there's 5 of us. Just be, yeah, I guess 3 would go into different lanes. Well, that idea might be gone in a minute because we're about to hit a bridge. But yeah, essentially, probably say we would have Pedro, you would go on the left of us, and then we would have, let's see, Space Loft go off on the right, El Diablo go off on the right, and then Mac just hang behind, or even around in the center dirt lane if he felt that was safe.
Okay, so we don't go to the other road, so we stay on this road here.
You wouldn't be Pedro, but everybody else would in this scenario. What's everybody's thought on this? No, we would be going very slow for this idea. So yeah. Be a video, yeah. Yeah, slowing down and catching up. Michelle, what are you thinking?
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever Max thinks. Wait, am I going in the dirt road or no?
You would have to cross the dirt road to get onto the other side.
She's not happy to do that instead.
To be honest, if we can avoid that space loft, I'd rather, like, even just pull us out of here, seem to give it a hell of a long job.
Okay, well then, if you get in front of us, then we can pull off onto the dirt.
I'm gonna have to slow down quite a bit. But
yeah, this all. By the way, all of this we'll be doing this at about 40k.
So I might have to slow down, drop off, and then I can speed and catch back up on the other side.
No worries, fill me up, mate. Just tell me where you want me and I'll do that.
Okay, well, yeah, if everybody gets into kind of a position, and then once this bus passes, we have a clear frame, then I think we'll be good to go. Sorry, 2 people were talking at once.
So Space Loft stays in this lane, is that right?
That is correct.
Where does the stop go?
To the left of Space Loft.
You would go to the left of Space Loft.
Okay, so I have to... Okay, so the left lane, yeah, okay.
That's when you wanted to go across and slow down, drop.
Where do you want the upload?
Are you comfortable crossing the dirt barrier to the other side?
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so then yeah, if you go on to the other side of my mark, then that'll be great. Oh, what? I can't roll down this window.
Get Nick to get out the back.
Nick, how far can you roll that window down?
My inoperable passenger side window had been a continuous problem during the trip, mainly because it meant the passenger in the front had to suffer with the heat, and toll booths were an absolute.
Okay, so everybody activate on the count of 3, 2, 1, go!
And I'd love to show you the final clip of all 5 cars in the line, but unfortunately I don't have it, so you'll just have to go and subscribe to the Global Convoy's YouTube channel and wait for them to post it.
If we see any more camel signs up ahead, if you could give us a warning, I think we want to get a picture.
With everyone back on the correct side, left side, whatever side we were supposed to be driving on, and no one dead, we found a camel sign for Andy and stopped for a photo. After our stop to take pictures of the camel crossing sign, we set off again heading south and were once again pulled over at a police checkpoint.
They're interested in us. We're definitely past the
They're just bored, like, they don't see much, do they? No. Speak through your window.
Yeah.
On the window.
Well, the tire's flat again, apparently. Yeah, might be from the what's the name?
Puncture?
Yeah, the puncture we had before. It was fixed, but clearly not fixed well enough. So yeah.
So we're currently heading down a dirt track off the main road to a Bedouin camp that we have booked for the night. It's going to be interesting to see what this place is like. In the meantime, Pedro, in the Saab in front of me, has picked up yet another puncture. We've already inflated his tyre twice. Let's see how many more times it needs to be inflated before we actually get to the camp. What? Oh, tyre. Yeah, it's still holding out a little bit, but it's not going to be much longer. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty much flat again now.
I can't remember how many times we had to inflate Pedro's tyre before we got to the camp. All I can tell you is that I'm grateful Matt had a compressor with him so that we didn't have to keep inflating it by hand, and that it took so long to get to the camp that I filled my camera's memory card. When we finally arrived at the Bedouin camp, we hiked up a nearby hill to watch the sunset. Noel demonstrated his human windsock abilities, and then we went for dinner.
No wind. Joe, we're going.
Alright, so we tried camel before. Me and Max have had wonderful experiences trying camel in Central Asia. Camel scratchings and other bits, but we've never actually tried camel meat on its own. And it's been cooked to perfection. It looks pretty amazing. It looks almost like pulled pork. And it's been cooked with dates. So, cheers. To be honest, it's almost like I wouldn't be able to tell that it was camel.
Really?
You know that musky smell that we've always gotten? Like the taste that we've had in the scratchings and the milk and all that? Non-existent here. It's
So it tastes like
it's almost like beef. I would say it's a lot closer to beef.
I think like veal. Veal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's delicious. Like, it's fantastic. But yeah, there was none of that. I was afraid there was that flavor of that muskiness. Gracias. But it doesn't. It doesn't have any of the muskiness. It's yeah, just delicious. Fantastic. Oh man.
We woke up the following morning and decided to go snowboarding. Right. In order to go snowboarding in the desert, you will require the following items: a snowboard, a ratchet strap, a 19mm combination spanner, and a Volvo. Some of us even had the correct attire for desert snowboarding. It's almost like we planned this. Suitably dressed and with the kinks worked out in our setup, I wasn't going to pass up the opportunity to do some desert snowboarding. It's harder than it looks. My only experience on anything board related is a mate's mountain board, and that was some years ago. A big thanks to Becca for driving my car while I was being towed behind Matt's. We will finish our time snowboarding in the desert with Joelle giving us a masterclass of how it should be done. After we'd finished messing around in the desert, we set off for the city of Leon, which is the largest city in Western Sahara. The first order of business was to sort out Pedro's puncture and then go get some food. After being on the road for almost 2 weeks at this point, many of us were wanting some home comfort, so we decided to indulge in a little fast food. Our first stop was Burger King, however something didn't seem quite right about it, so we opted to carry on to our Mackie D's. Now I can't remember what I was thinking about when this was taken, all I can remember is that after eating McDonald's I felt kind of sleepy. Who would have guessed it, processed junk food making you feel tired. Anyway, with none of us really wanting to do much the rest of the day, we decided to start heading back north to find a campsite and just chill out for the rest of the day. Finding a campsite went about as well as it had done so far on this trip, ultimately forcing us to drive late into the night, when eventually I hit a pothole and did this.
My mate fixed for me as well.
Do not adjust your sets. Yes, we are back at the Bedouin camp. After multiple failed attempts of finding somewhere to camp, we decided to go back to the Bedouin camp as we knew it was a sure thing that we could stop there, even if we did have to pitch our own tents this time. This did unfortunately require us to drive until almost midnight. We started the day by wishing Pedro a happy birthday before once again hitting the road, this time in search of a town with a tyre shop. My little escapade into that pothole the previous night had not only punctured my near side rear tyre, but had also put a bulge in my near side front. With a replacement tyre fitted, we could once again commence our journey north. Beautiful weather, straight roads, what could possibly go wrong? Unfortunately, none of us had our cameras rolling for this, otherwise it probably would have made dealing with it afterwards much easier. You're just going to have to do with my crappy animation. Noel was driving Max's car, aka Spacelove, up front leading the convoy, with Matt following in his Volvo, followed by me in Type R, then Andy in his van, and finally Pedro bringing up the rear in the Saab. The road we were driving on was a 2-lane road with a tall bank to our right from the construction of the new highway, which left no runoff on that side, and sandy ground to our left on the opposite side of the road. Some locals in an Audi SUV decided to overtake all 5 cars in one go. From what I could see from my position, just as it came up to the back of Matt's car, the Audi put a rear wheel on the sandy ground to our left, which caused it to start fishtailing. As it came back onto the road, it ended up sideswiping Spacelove, leaving the scrape marks down the side and smashing the wing mirror off. As the Audi came past us, both Matt and I went for the radios, with Matt getting to them fractionally quicker in an attempt to warn Noel. Unfortunately, it was too late. In all honesty, when the Audi began to fishtail, I actually thought it was going to go between Matt's Volvo and Spacelove and hit the bank to our right, which would have most likely rolled them. The fact that Noel was there where he was at the time probably prevented the Audi from hitting the bank and actually a much more serious accident. Anyway, everyone pulled off to the road to the left and then the blame game started. The situation was ultimately solved by us calling the police. I think the police took a look at the skid marks on the road and in the sandy ground, the position of the damage on the cars, and came to the rightful conclusion that the locals in the Audi were driving like idiots and we weren't to blame. I got out my hammer to bend what was left of the mirror bracket back into shape and then cable tied the mirror back in place before Max and Noel followed the police to the police station to sort stuff out, while the rest of us headed to the campsite in Tantan that we had previously stopped at earlier in the trip, but this time had rented a room for us to all stay in.
Care to explain your sleeping arrangements?
Yeah, I'm sleeping in a wardrobe.
Are you happy about that?
Yeah, it's nice solid wall, nice solid floor, good solid doors.
Okay, hello buddy.
Sleep tight on that minimum right.
Day 15 was another long day of driving back north again, this time to the wild campsite we had stopped at the beach earlier in the trip. While nothing particularly noteworthy happened this day, due to the lack of delays and faff, it did mean we arrived at a campsite in time to do some more snowboarding on the dunes.
What's that? Oasis? Oh, no, I'm keeping mine. Still cool.
I always feel like you're about to say I'm Johnny Knoxville and...
yeah, exactly. Oh, well, in that case.
yeah,
totally. Alright.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I want to post this, but this is the reason why I joined the Global Convoy. Global Convoy? This is the reason why I joined the Global Convoy!
Wow! Wow!
See, so that's what happened.
Oh, wow! Yeah! Style out, Diego! Wow! Yeah.
With the sun setting, we walked back along the beach to our camp for dinner, but not before Laura and Lara had had a chance to go down a dune on a snowboard.
Oh. Lean back more.
And with that, Laura, Matan's and my time at the Global Convoy was over. Well, for this trip anyway.
Safe travels, guys.
We headed north to Agadir so we could drop Matan off at the airport.
Take care.
Thank you.
So nice to meet you.
Bye. Thank you.
Before Laura and I could continue on to Marrakesh so I could drop her off.
Bye. Miss you.
However, for me, this isn't where the story ends. For those of you who are subscribed and follow my channel, you'll know that this is my dad. For those of you that aren't, why aren't you subscribed? Anyway, my dad played a key part in helping me rebuild my Mini when I did the Mongol Rally back in 2019. So as thanks, I flew him out to Marrakesh for holiday and so we could road trip back to the UK. In no way was this just deployed to get someone else to help drive my car home. With my dad as my new passenger, we set off north trying to cover as much ground as possible that day, eventually stopping for the night in the city of Casablanca. The first proper hotel room I saw this entire trip. The private shower was very nice. The following morning my dad and I continued heading north, attempting to get to Tangier so we could catch an early evening ferry back to Spain. The previous day on the way to Marrakesh airport, Laura and I had been pulled over by the police. I was asked the simple question of, "Valley?" To which I said no, and after the police had checked my documents, allowed me on my way, somewhat bewildered. The following day, the reason for being asked this question became apparent.
So we've just got to another toll booth, and as I'll show you in a second, there's a load of old Renault 4s. We've been passing quite a few of them on the highway. I'm guessing there's been some car club event with them. Yeah, really friendly, really cool to see that we're not the only people doing some form of road trip across Morocco.
Haven't really recorded much in the last couple of days because we've basically been bombing it across Morocco to get back to the ferry, but here we are at Tangier, and we spent most of the day following a bunch of Renault 4s. When I say following, I mean overtaking them, because they're not the quickest of vehicles, but there's absolutely hundreds here in the port, and I think we're ready to catch that ferry back. Probably see I'm pretty shattered at this point. To give you a quick rundown of what happened, we got to the port with plenty of time. I had to wait until the office opened to exchange the voucher I had for a ticket into an actual ticket. Waited, they opened up exactly as I said, that got swapped, that's fine. Do not pay any attention to the people who are saying, "Oh, come my friend," and everything, we will sort a ticket for you. They're just scam people, or they're just trying to make a quick buck, and I think tell them basically off. So we had a massive rally of Renault 4s coming through, which were great to look at, but unfortunately they caused massive delays in customs. When we finally got through it, we got then taken and circled back round to the beginning and had to go through it all over again. We then got taken down to the quays where we were supposed to get on our ship, and we were told to go to key number 2. We went to find number 2. We were then told that was not the right one, so we went back to speak to the original guy, who then said 4. Driving along, there were no signs for number 4. Eventually we got to a point where it basically became freight, so it was trucks and container ships, and a guy that actually very helpfully said that we'd gone too far and we need to loop around. There were a couple of other vehicles looking for the same one, and eventually a dock worker in his van stopped and said he'll take us there. He didn't seem particularly happy, and he delivered us to key number 4 just as our ship was pulling out, and I have to wait until 1:30 to catch the next one. Yeah.
AML and Tangier Med Quart. Not impressed.
So we eventually got into Spain at about 6 AM yesterday morning. Yeah, not particularly impressed with the ferry, but oh well, it's over and done with. Credit to the iOverlanding app, and I think it found us this area, which it's a wild campsite. There's a debate whether you can or cannot camp here, but we have for the evening, well, morning, and we weren't disturbed. So yeah, if you're getting off the ferry from Morocco and you really quickly need somewhere to crash, this place is about half an hour away. Highly recommend the iOverlander app for this one. So anyway, me and my dad, we're going to go get some breakfast, and then we're going to go visit Gibraltar.
After getting breakfast and through the border checkpoint into Gibraltar, my dad and I headed straight for the cable car at the top of Gibraltar Rock.
Here we are at the very top of Gibraltar, on the top of the rock. They might have built a more impressive looking wall, but this is a fantastic view. Both ways, always.
So out there we have the Med, and if I'm not mistaken and my geography is correct, the coastline over there is the north of Morocco, possibly the north of Algeria. But yeah, strange to think we're only across there. We were like less than 24 hours ago.
Yes.
And from the other side.
So as you can probably see in the background is Gibraltar's runway. Fortunately it's not visible at the minute, but I had heard about this, but you actually, to get in, you have to drive across the runway. There's traffic lights. So hopefully on the way out we're going to get a video of it, of me driving over. Yeah, that's Gibraltar's airport.
After admiring the view from the top of the rock, we headed back down, getting to see the monkeys, what I personally think is a pretty kick-ass flag of Gibraltar, and I even managed to spot Type R in the car park that I left it in. Once at the bottom, we did the very British thing of getting a cup of tea and a beer. Well, a Corona, because that's all they had.
Right, Dad, you want to explain where we are?
Hello folks, right here we are in Gibraltar. We're in the basin, as you can see, where the millionaires keep their yachts. So we're looking at millionaire type yachts. Yachts I'll never be able to afford, but quite like looking at.
After we had finished wandering around the marina and my dad had finished dreaming what being a millionaire would be like, we left Gibraltar, driving out over its runway, and headed north to our overnight stop. We left the hotel just south of Marbella that morning and started a long drive heading back towards the UK. Unlike on the way to Morocco, I opted not to use the Santander to Portsmouth ferry, so this meant driving through Spain and France and catching a ferry from Calais. If I'm honest, there wasn't much of interest on our journey, apart from a drift-stitch bin at a services, which kind of amused me.
So we spent today heading north towards Andorra, north through Spain, and again we used the iOverlander app to try and find us a campsite. I'm going to admit I kind of chose this place because I laughed at the name a bit. The guy called it the Haunted Goat Run. However, it's a very nice area. It matches the description. There's a small river here. Not a huge amount of space to stick down tents, but there's enough if you're kind of by yourself. It's probably better for a motorhome. So yeah, we're going to pitch a tent, make some dinner, and see you again tomorrow. Tonight on campsite cooking, we're making corned beef hash. The simple recipe is you dice up your potatoes, your onions, your carrots, you chuck everything in a pan, cover it in water, stick some stock in there. Word of advice, don't bring the little foil cubes of OXO because it looks really suspicious when you cross an international border. Get little plastic pots. You let it boil for 20 minutes and then you chuck in your corned beef and boil for another 10. That's it. So it's the now following morning, and I decided to hike up one of the hills. I was hoping to get to the top, but actually I realised it kind of plateaus out and then goes even further, so admittedly I'm going to be lazy and not bother. But yeah, this is the view from up here. Our campsite is just down there. You should be able to just see my car. Yeah, really nice spot. Let's say probably not suitable for big groups, I think, but if you're not individual like we are and you're passing through, yeah, ideal. I highly recommend it. So anyway, we're going to get going now and head to Andorra.
We left our wild campsite and joining some wonderful country roads, taking in the scenery, before eventually joining a highway and then turning off onto roads through the mountains that would take us to the micronation of Andorra. I think I got stopped at every available border checkpoint possible on this trip. What is it about my car that makes me look suspicious? So here we are in the Andorran Motor Museum. It's €5 for an adult or $2.50 if you're a senior citizen. My dad's just found out. Yeah, it's kind of quite a cool little museum. We had tried to go to the Electricity Power Museum, but unfortunately they got a school group on and we were told we had to come back at 3 o'clock. We were heading north in France today, so yeah, anyway, here's a very quick tour of the museum. The museum is split across 4 floors and is filled with various early models of cars, one-offs, limited edition models, iconic vehicles, classic rare cars, motoring memorabilia, and even a few small military vehicles. Included with your fee is the audio guide that gives you additional information on select vehicles, and it comes in a variety of languages. I think someone needs to correct their sign on number 19. Stratos. The mental piece of equipment you were. I didn't know Vespa made a car. We left the museum in Andorra and continued on north through France, stopping for that evening at a campsite near Limoges.
So we left Andorra earlier this morning. I was hoping to get myself a fridge magnet there. That didn't happen. But basically we spent the day, I think, heading north, basically heading back to Calais, as we've got to be home in a couple of days. Once again, using the iOverlander app, we found ourselves a campsite, and I have to say, this one's pretty good. So, without saying much more, let's introduce you and show you around. So this is the campsite. I'm not sure if you can see that, but the facilities include small kids playground for the young at heart, a small lake, I suppose, or largest pond if you fancy a quick dip. I have no idea what it's like. I haven't been in there yet, but we might try that later. We have electrical hookups if you've got a caravan. We've got a source of water to fill water tanks. We've got picnic benches if you want to have a meal. We've got a small building here. It's currently locked, but this building does have a few amenities on the outside, which we discovered are unlocked. You've got rubbish. You've got some benches which are not bolted down, so you can move them around. You've got external sinks plus power sockets and running water. We have one toilet. Another one, disabled access. Disabled access shower. And finally another shower. On top of that, you have all of this grass space, nothing to camp on.
That evening, my dad and I dined on hot dogs. It was supposed to be hot dogs with onions, but somehow we managed to lose the onions. Good job the French didn't find out, otherwise they would have been furious with us. Day 22 was another long day of driving. Apart from being held up slightly due to an accident, it was an uneventful drive. My only real issue was having to take a route that avoided Paris, which my sat-nav badly wanted to take me through, as I had not prepaid the congestion charge before setting off on this trip, and my car was too old to be exempt from the pollution charges. With a ferry back to the UK booked for the following morning, we set off for Calais, eventually arriving in early evening and finding a campsite for the night.
So it's our last morning in France, it's about 7 AM. We stopped at this campsite last night. We were looking to wild camp, but the suggestions at the iOverlander app turned up great if you've got a camper van, not if you've got a tent like I have. This place cost us about €14. Yeah, I have to say the city's pretty good. Obviously in a bit of a tourist trap area, so they're going to charge you more. It's very unusual though it is, after the 3 weeks I've had of camping in the desert and on beaches and everything, to wake up with a car that's covered in condensation. It's actually really windy and cold. But anyway, we're going to get breakfast and then we're going to head off to the ferry. After about 3 weeks, here we are, finally at Calais, catching the ferry back to Dover. It's not really quite the end of the trip because I've still got quite a bit of a drive once I get back into the UK. But yeah, this is the last point aboard. I'm hoping that this ferry crossing is more successful than the Morocco to Spain one, but considering we're here plenty of time and it's only about 15 minutes until we board the ship. Actually, if I look to my left, I can see it's just pulling in. Yeah, it should be good. So, next port of call, Dover.
With ourselves and the car boarded and Calais port slowly disappearing into the distance, it really did feel like the end of the trip. As we arrived at Dover, all that was left was a drive heading north back to the Project Peddlers headquarters. We have neither the time, money or space to build the project cars we want, so try to convince others to build them for our own entertainment. Sometimes, just occasionally, we build them ourselves and take them on some epic road trips. That is the Project Peddlers mantra. This trip was supposed to be the conclusion to my mini build, which I failed to get finished in time. But it was never the car that was going to make the road trip, but rather the memories made along the way, and the people I got to make them with. This trip was an excuse to see old friends and make some new ones. Oh, and say a very big thank you to someone I owe a lot to. My name's Mike, and you've been watching the Project Peddlers do Mayhem 22. Thanks for watching.
I'm broken hero. Where did I go wrong? Living a hollow life. I'm living a hollow life. I'm living a hollow life.
What? Still needs to be finished.